Hi everybody, Mr. Rust here. It's been a little bit of a messy weather situation and haven't had quite as much time, so instead of video updates today, I just went around and snapped some pictures and I'm doing a voice overlay instead of my regular video. So we'll take a look at the plants quickly, see how they're progressing, and then probably get back to our regular video format next week. As such, there also won't be any clips of Ella this time, so here's a picture of her instead. Now let's get to the plants. We'll go ahead and look at the blueberries first. You can see that they have sort of ripened and sort of not. There's some coming on every morning that are ripe to pick, and then there's some that have to wait a little bit longer. We're getting about a cup or two every day. In between the blueberry bushes, we have the butterfly bushes. You can see that this is one of the larger clumps with bright orange flowers, and the pollinators are absolutely loving these right now. Underneath of the maple tree out front, the blossoms are finally starting to show up just a little bit on the lilies and should be opening in the next week or so. In the bigger front bed that we've been looking at, the pansies are starting to fail in the heat, but the petunias are picking up nicely, and all the little ones that I planted are really starting to grow, except for the ones that were dug up by the squirrels. Here you can see the cold hardy hibiscus is getting really big. It's about 4.5 feet tall and did really well in the storms that we had just the other day. Sometimes it breaks off and I was a little bit concerned about it, but it's really strong this year. Next to that bush, we have the coneflowers that we've been watching, and you can see that in addition to the orange ones, we have some really vibrant pink ones that have opened up, and then there's the lighter shade purple bee balm on the ground behind it there. Next to that, we have a lighter shade of pink coneflower behind a crepe myrtle here. I am going to have to space those out soon because they're growing a little bit too close. And then behind that, we have the elephant ears right in front of the house that are really taking off. At the end of the garden, I had this surprise this year. I had forgotten that I had put this down there. And this is some hummingbird mint, which has a flower very much like the bee balm that we've been watching, except it's a really vibrant pink magenta sort of red. As we head around the side of the house, you can see that my other butterfly bush that I haven't focused on too much is really getting big. I'm probably going to have to prune it back a little bit because it is growing out of the garden, but soon it will have nice purple flowers on it and lots of butterflies all around. Behind that, we have the hydrangea, which is getting really full of blossoms now. We took a look at the blossoms for the first time last time, and now you can see that it's really covered in the flowers and will continue to be for some time. Moving around to the back of the house, we can see that the yuccas that I talked about before are wide open. They're not super colorful, but they do have some really interesting blooms, and the flowers kind of face downward instead of upward, unlike most other flowers that we see around here. Next up, if we take a look at the tiny dinos and the dahlias and the grasses and the elephant ears here, you can see that everything's looking nice and green and healthy, and then there's a little bit of green weeds in between the other things that I really need to take care of. Here we have the palm tree that has the tomatoes growing underneath of it. Everything's still going really well, so for the moment I'm going to leave it unless something looks like it's having a problem with the arrangement. Here we have the tomatoes that are growing by themselves, and then the lone pepper. I haven't started to thin them out yet, but I will have to sort them out soon, I believe, because there are too many in there as they start to get bigger, but they're looking great. And then next to them we have the basil plants. You can see that we've pulled off a few leaves. We've made some basil lemonade, which again is one of my favorite things to have. So those are looking good and going to provide more herbs across the season. Speaking of herbs across the season, here is the lavender plant. Sorry, the flowers are a little bit out of focus there, but you can see that they are nice and open, really pretty flowers on top of a very fragrant plant that's good again in lemonade and then lots of other things as well. Here are the palm trees up on the deck, still looking good and growing strong. Here you can see that the grasses are still getting taller. On the left, we have the giant variety that is really starting to reach across the top of the fence line there, and will continue to grow about maybe 2 more feet or so before they top out for the season. In between, you can see the porcupine grass that we talked about last time. Here we have the bananas that are at the corner of the deck, along with the cold hardy hibiscus, looking good and growing in nice clumps. And then if you look out along the garden, you can see some dianthus there in the middle, and then cold hardy hibiscus and bananas again at the other end. Looking at the lemon fluffs, you can see that some of the blossoms have started to die back, and they do not look great once they stop blooming. They're really beautiful while they're open. They're not open a long time, and then they get kind of shriveled and ugly looking. And then wrapping up, we have our cold hardy hibiscus and our bananas. Everything's looking really good. The bananas are going strong and are standing much, much taller than me this season and are looking great. Well, that's everything for this update. I hope that you enjoyed having a quick look at the plants that we've been watching across the season, and like I said, next time we will have a video update, but for now that is all, so go ahead and say goodbye, Ella.